Welcome to the American Quarter Horse Hall of Fame Induction Banquet. Live from Amarillo, here's your host, Lehman Wall.
Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to induct the 2023 class into your American Quarter Horse Hall of Fame and to give these inductees and their representatives the opportunities to stand on this stage and tell their stories. In 1982, the AQHA convention in Anaheim, California, the very first two members into the Hall of Fame were honored. They were J. Ernest Browning of Arizona and Robert M. Denhart of California. Since then, more than 330 outstanding women, men, and horses have been honored into the Hall of Fame. And thousands of visitors from around the world learn about the contributions of these members when they visit your American Quarter Horse Hall of Fame and Museum right here in Amarillo, Texas. Being inducted into the Hall of Fame is the highest honor bestowed on both humans and horses. These members have shaped our breed into the largest breed registry in the world. Through talent, hard work, dedication, sometimes a little luck, all have a story to tell. This year's 3 equine inductees achieved success during their careers and made legendary impacts on the American quarter horse industry. We'll also honor 4 individuals whose horsemanship, ability to spot greatness in horseflesh, and leadership have touched the lives of many horses and humans while also shaping our industry and blazing trails for many others to come behind. We hope you all enjoyed visiting the American Quarter Horse Hall of Fame this weekend to learn more about the impact that each of these legends have made on our breed. At this time, I invite your AQHA President and Foundation Board of Trustee member, Mr. Ken Banks, to the stage to assist with presentations. Also, joining him will be the lovely Miss Rodeo America, Kennedy Riggs. Now, what we've all been waiting for the last couple of days, let's meet the class of 2023. We begin with Harley D Zip.
If you've ever swung into the saddle on a Harley, or in this case, the Harley, you'd know there was a lot of motor under the seat. A bay gelding bred by Christy Tingle of Georgetown, Maryland, Harley D Zip is one of 3 AQHA champions and 41 Register of Merit qualifiers from 102 foals by Maximum Zip, whose grandsire is American Quarter Horse Hall of Fame stallion Zip Opine Bar, and whose dam is a Boston Mac mare. Foaled in 1995, Harley is one of 3 full siblings out of the Captain Boss mare Miss Faithfully, who earned 148 performance and halter points in open, youth, and amateur competition. Built for cruising, Harley took owners across the United States, starting with Lori Spera of Morgantown, Pennsylvania, who acquired the colt and his dam at birth. Lori sold him as a 2-year-old to Rodney Ale of Bridgeton, New Jersey, where his early days in the show ring were with Brian Ale and trainer Doug Pratt. In 2000, Harley took a road trip to Hermosa Beach, California, where new owner Harriet Yakutan showed him in the Western Pleasure, and Jason Martin rode him in Open Western Pleasure, Western Riding, and Trail. Mark and Rebecca Pine next took Harley to Weatherford, Texas, where the gelding's journey continued through the AQHA All-Around Arena with exhibitor and owner Joetta Meredith Bell of Millsap, Texas. In 2003, Harley became the pride and joy of the Papendick family of Rapid City, South Dakota, where for the next 9 years he was shown by his owner, Christina Papendick Comer, her sister Allie, and their mother Carrie. Since 2009, Harley has been in the name of the family's Highview Ranch Quarter Horses, Inc.
We were at a show in Denver, Colorado, and I remember seeing him walk into the arena. And I was sitting in the stands with a friend, and being a little girl, you see horses, you fall in love, but something drew me to him, and I said to my friend, I want that horse. And it was just a joke. It became a fascination. Little did I know, years down the road, he would become one of ours.
Carrie says that she is most proud of the opportunities that Harley has given her daughters and that he has taught them to be dedicated to goals and given them the chance to interact with many wonderful people throughout the country. Carrie also stated that Harley and Jason had an incredible bond, a relationship between a man and a horse that will never be duplicated.
Harley impacted our lives in nothing but a positive way. I can't look back on a single memory and have it be negative. There wasn't a single horse show that I walked away from and was mad at Harley. You could not be mad at him. Any mistake that was made, you had to own up to. Everything that we experienced with Harley, he was able to teach us to use it in the real world and helped me learn how to set a goal and follow through and have ambitions and know that there's always another chance. You may not have done it well this time, but we're going to go back and we're going to practice and we're going to fix where we went wrong and we're going to do it again and it's going to be even better.
Harley hated Western pleasure, though. You could see his pout after the first round, which is why he didn't do much Western pleasure later in life. Said to be serious in the ring but lighthearted at home, Harley loved the social aspect of showing and, of course, Western riding, where he always shined. He would tell them when he was ready to go, with his right ear cocked, listening.
His legacy is going to live on in the Western riding, hands down. Jason Martin said it, that he was the first horse to go out in the Western riding pen and just throw his front leg and point that toe on both lead changes. And he set some records that we don't think any other horse is going to be able to beat.
Carrie said that he had been so great to them that whatever Harley wanted, Harley got. Everyone who had ever met Harley has a memory of him. His big forelock, his expression, and presence made a lasting impression on those privileged to meet Harley. When Christina was asked about her favorite memory of Harley, she teared up as she fondly recalled some of her favorite times with him.
Harley was like my best friend. He was with me throughout all those dreaded teen years. And I think he also kept me out of trouble as a teenager because my weeks were spent doing my homework so I can get to the horse shows, or doing my homework so we could come down to Charlie and Jason's and practice for all the big shows. And so that's my life revolved around Harley for so long. And then I was able to pass him off to my sister, and then I was able to cheer my sister and Harley on and see them accomplish so many things. And to be able to have that bond with Harley to share with my sister is something that I don't think many people in the show industry are able to experience. And then take it another step further and see my mom go off and accomplish things just as great as my sister and I were able to. And so that bond that Harley gave us is something that we are all so grateful for.
Harley shone brightest on the biggest stages with a Breyer horse model on the mantle, heavyweight trophies, bowing shelves, and his photo gracing the journal cover of April 2009 when Harley took the lead in incentive fund earnings.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is still one more thing to check off Jason and Harley's bucket list: enjoying the moment of their last ride together. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jason and Harley back to the arena for their last open Western riding performance together. Oh, and by the way, without a bridle.
AQHA has had its fair share of superstars over the past 75 years, those horses that, for a period of history, capture our attention. Harley D Zip is certainly one of those horses. Every time he stepped into the arena, not only did he turn in a near flawless performance, but he captivated audiences with his ability, his personality, and his style. Harley D Zip was loved not only by his owners and trainers, but by his fans around the world. Harley died in August 2021.
Great horse, Harley D Zip.
We honor him on his final AQHA journey by inducting him into the American Quarter Horse Hall of Fame.
Please help me in welcoming Carrie Pappendick to accept on behalf of Harley D Zip.
Okay, that's not fair to have me go right after that. But I want to thank the American Quarter Horse Association Foundation and the Hall of Fame Committee for doing such a phenomenal job and giving us the opportunity to share all our memories and our journey with Harley D Zip and High Point Performance Horses. It's been a journey that is beyond even explaining how it went. But I remember our journey starting with Harley in 2003, and Christina remembers it well too. We were at the Congress, and there was some discussion between Jason Martin and Christina about starting to get a little more involved in more all-around classes. At the time, Christina was just doing some pleasure classes and horsemanship, and we didn't think that she could keep going with the horse that she had, so they were talking about it in the alleyway, and Christina thought she was pretty safe in saying, well, sure, Jason, I'll start doing the all-around classes if I could do it on a horse like Harley. Well, if any of you know Jason Martin, that's all it took, and the wheels started turning. And so then entered Joetta Meredith Bell, who owned Harley at the time. She was also a client of High Point Performance Horses, and she was thinking of getting a younger prospect, and so the timing kind of worked out to where there was some discussion here and there, and pretty soon it's 2 a.m. in the morning, and I'm in the Cooper Arena with Jason, Charlie, Joetta, and Christina's riding Harley to see if this could even work, because as you know, sometimes things don't always work out with little old Harley. But we watched them, and everybody was, I think this is a team that could go. So the rest is pretty much history. And a remarkable history it was. Harley continued with High Point Performance Horses for the rest of his show career. And when it came time for Harley to retire, there was no place for him to go other than home to the Black Hills of South Dakota with us. And he remained there until he died. I'm sorry. But that's the story for most of us that are here. We all have a connection with a special horse, a special person, and that brought us here. Those are the people that, and the horses that changed our lives. They probably pushed us beyond our own demands, beyond our capabilities that we thought we had, and that made us all better people and better people in the show ring. Harley was definitely that horse to us. He pushed us through our comfort zone, And doing that, he demanded so much from us that we never forgot the lessons that we learned, and we made some fantastic memories. And of course, you've heard it before, but one of my lessons learned that I'll never forget happened right here in Amarillo. It was during the Select World, and we were in the practice pen late at night, which neither Harley or I really liked to be in. And of course, Jason was saying, well, just go with it. We're going to practice. And of course, Harley was the same way. He's just going and doing the same old Harley. Well, I kept poking, jabbing, not doing what I was supposed to do. And of course, Jason's like, that's going to have to stop pretty soon. Let's just go one more time. I didn't listen to either of them. Well, I ended up on the floor of the whole arena. And I think many of you guys were probably there to see some of that. And lesson learned and memory made. So, but Harley also taught us to be horsemen. He also taught us how to be winners. And when he did, and his favorite person to win with, of course, was Jason Martin. And it's something that Harley and Jason had a magical type of relationship. Harley even knew when Jason was in the barn or when he was not in the barn. It was one of those things where it started really early in Harley's career. I think Harley was either a 4 or 5 year old, and Harriet Yakutan, a longtime client of Charlie and Jason's, which I'm sure many of you here remember Harriet. Harriet bought Harley, brought him to these two to do some more of the training. They did the Western Pleasure and the Western Riding and the Trail. And then after that, then Joetta started the all-around, which she did a phenomenal job because I think they practically won absolutely everything there was. And then soon he became a Papendick horse, so he was with us. But there isn't much more I can present that already hasn't been presented, and I am just thankful to everyone who put the presentation together and the bridleless Western riding that they had. It was their very last performance together. And after watching something that you cannot, there's nobody in the room that cannot say that Jason and Harley had the most magical friendship and partnership, and he was once in a lifetime. So thank you so very much.
Congratulations to Harley D Zip and the entire Papendick family. Ladies and gentlemen, let's remember Highbrow Cat.
The cutting horse term catty describes a horse that is agile and light on its feet during the highly desirable physical dance between a horse and a cow. Perhaps then it's fitting that the GOAT, or greatest of all time of performance sires, is Highbrow Cat, the #1 all-time sire of performance money earners across all disciplines in the history of the American quarter horse breed. Highbrow Cat by Highbrow Hickory and out of the Smart Little Lena Mare Smart Little Kitty was bred by Haynes Chatham and Stuart Sewell. The 1988 Chestnut Stallion has progeny earnings of more than $91 million to date. In 2021, 12 of the top 25 cutting horse sires were sons or grandsons of Highbrow Cat. On the all-time list of sires by performance money earned, Highbrow Cat is joined in the top 5 by his sons Metallic Cat and Smooth as a Cat. Their progeny alone have combined earnings of nearly $94 million. Highbrow Cat is also the #2 all-time broodmare sire of horses by performance money earned, with progeny earnings in cutting alone of nearly $63 million, behind his grandsire, Smart Little Lena. Highbrow Cat is an anomaly, says AQHA past president Frank Merrill, a bloodstock agent who has managed the careers of many historic stallions. He turned this industry on its ear. We have never had a sire that has dominated its discipline like Highbrow Cat. In 1988, Jack Wagoner, a cutting horse breeder from Decatur, Texas, acquired Highbrow Cat and his dam, Smart Little Kitty.
I went to an auction and bought Smart Little Kitty, and she happened to have a little colt on her, just born within a week. And the colt was by Highbrow Hickory. Pardon me. That baby was the smartest thing. I had dogs, and he was as smart as any dog going. Then he got weaned, and he got out with some other yearlings, and he would go tease them and get them running after each other, and then he'd go stand and watch them. And he was the smartest thing.
Highbrow Cat was started under saddle and then sent to cutting trainer Farron Hightower, who said that he was about as athletic as any horse he had ever ridden, and that the sign of a good stallion is one who outproduces himself, and there was nobody who has outproduced himself more than Highbrow Cat. When Jack first sent Highbrow Cat to Farron, Farron wanted to geld him and Jack refused, and it's a good thing he did. Highbrow Cat did not make a splash at the National Cutting Horse Association Futurity, but placed in a minor futurity a few weeks later, collecting his very first earnings of just over $1,000. He had obvious talent, but struggled with consistency in his performances. His biggest career win came at the age of 5 when he captured the Classic Open at the 1993 Augusta Futurity, which is the same year his first foals hit the ground. During his career, Highbrow Cat was shown by Jack, as well as Olin Hightower, Jody Gallion, and Bill Freeman.
When he was shown, you know how everybody has to lope down the horse, and some of them lope for hours and hours. Farron or Bill or whoever showed him would take him around once to loosen him up, one lap, that was it, and then he'd go to show. But he knew what was expected of him, and that's what he did. One time, he was laying in a stall. He had a big stall. He was laying in a stall, and I went in there and put my head down on his chest, and I didn't mean to, but I fell asleep. And the hands came out, and they watched, and they, thought, oh my God, if he gets up. And then Shane came over, and he said, that horse woke up, and he kept looking back at you, but he wouldn't move. He wouldn't move, and finally said, you were there for probably an hour, and finally they yelled and woke me up. And only after I got up did Cat get up. He wasn't going to hurt me. But he was that kind of horse.
Highbrow Cat retired in 1995 with earnings of more than $110,000 and headed for the breeding shed. At first, there was a lack of public interest in him due to his sire's reputation of being a challenge. But that didn't stop Jack. In 1992, he bred a test crop of only 7 horses, 6 of which survived to adulthood. From that group, Cat's Summertime was 6th in the NCHA Futurity Open Finals and went on to earn nearly $350,000. Those test foals had their sire's temperament and were so willing you could teach them something even at a few weeks of age. The second crop was made up of 17 foals, again supported by Jack, and according to Frank Merrill, after that first foal crop, everybody and their brother was breeding mares to him.
Everything he produced cut, and it was funny, people would ask me, well, what should I breed Cat to? And I said, probably ought to breed him to a horse. And that was about it, because we bred him to horses that you couldn't train. We bred him to horses that couldn't move. We bred him to good horses, bad horses, and he always produced a good horse. That's just the mark of a good sire.
To date, Highbrow Cat has sired more than 3,100 registered foals, 2/3 of which are performers. The best of them by money earned is the 2011 NCHA Horse of the Year, Don't Look Twice, a mare who earned nearly $850,000 and has produced earners of nearly $950,000. His other leading earners include Little Pepto Cat and Metallic Cat. Highbrow Cat was the NCHA AQHA Sire of the Year from 2003 through 2012. He's also a leading sire for the National Reined Cow Horse Association and among the leading sires of AQHA Registers of Merit and AQHA Points. As Jack was winding down his breeding operation, cutting horse competitor Darren Blanton made a package deal with him in 2013 that included the purchase of the 25-year-old stallion and the supply of his frozen semen.
Cat changed my life. I owe my financial success, my success in life to Cat. And I sold Cat because I was getting old, and Darren Blanton bought him, and Darren Blanton had a beautiful ranch and a great place for Cat and people to take care of him, and he just had a great home. And
Darren partnered on Cat in early 2019 with Kelly and Madison Crum of Beach Fork Ranch. In the 6 years between his first crop in 1996 through 2002, Highbrow Cat put at least one offspring in 5 of the NCHA Futurity Open Finals.
I remember one time I had him out, and I'm walking him. He was too valuable to ride, so I'm walking him. He kept stopping. I said, come on. And he'd turn around and look. And I'm trying to figure out what he wanted. And I was old enough at that time that there was a wooden box there, and I stepped on the box and stepped on his back, and then he just went off. He wanted me to ride him. And that's just the way it was.
On October 27, 2019, at the age of 31, Highbrow Cat was laid to rest at Darren's Ranch, south of Fort Worth. Please welcome Highbrow Cat into the American Quarter Horse Hall of Fame.
Please help me in welcoming Darren Blanton and Jack Wagner to accept on behalf of the Highbrow Cat.
How y'all doing? Thank y'all for not being victims. I love this culture and all of you kind of people. This country's really taking a turn for the worse. I got into horses because horses don't lie. They either have guts or not. And it was something as a kid that grew up in Dallas I had no idea about, but I always wanted to be a cowboy. I always wanted to be a winner and have significance. And when I started getting into horses, I realized these animals, they're sincere. And people aren't. And I think it's why all of us love horses, because we build a bond with these animals that we can't build with people. Sometimes we can, but when you find a great horse, there's nothing like it. And it also creates relationships between us horse lovers. Some people love horses, some people don't. And when you find people that do, it's like an indelible bond that we create between each other because we appreciate the beauty, the grit, and the intensity of a great horse. And the reason that I am so thankful to God that I bought Highbrow Cat was because of relationships that it brought me into. I got superstar Hall of Fame people here. I got friends that I'll have for life. And all that was a byproduct of owning Highbrow Cat. Just like Jack said, it was the #1 thing that created his success in his business career. Well, guess what? Thank God for Jack Wagner and thank God for Highbrow Cat. And America is all about exceptionalism and performance and victory. Don't forget that. We're not people that need trophies when we don't win. And Highbrow Cat's offspring win.
Congratulations to Highbrow Cat, Darren, Jack, and Colt Ventures. A little side note, just to tell you a little bit about what horses mean to people. Earlier during a break, I was told that a gentleman was outside. It's Mr. Roy Cooper, legendary Roy Cooper, and just asked, "What are you doing here?" And he said, "Just here for Highbrow Cat." So that's a way to pay homage to a good horse right there. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we honor Okie Leo.
Like his sire, American Quarter Horse Hall of Famer Leo, Okie Leo is considered one of the great using horses sires of the American Quarter Horses, a foundation of horses with incredible minds and solid conformation that epitomize the versatility and using ability of the breed. Just as they had with Leo, generations of breeders have looked to Okie Leo's genetics to develop programs that further the ranch horse to be cowy, with good feet to work in rugged conditions, stamina to keep going, and a trainable mind that partners the horse with the rider. Okie Leo's blood flows in some of today's best ranch horses, the stallions, broodmares, and remudas that propagate the line and its all-around abilities. Bred by Leo's owner, American Quarter Horse Hall of Famer Bud Warren of Perry, Oklahoma, Okie Leo was foaled in 1956, one of 13 foals out of Sorrel Sioux, a daughter of King P234. Sold as a yearling to E.L. Les Gosselin, Okie Leo started 2 races as a 2-year-old at Rio Doce Downs in New Mexico. He then was sold to Dick Roby, who with wife Helen was getting started in the horse business in Edmond, Oklahoma before relocating to Perkins. Dick said that he decided that if you couldn't make money off a Leo-bred stallion that was out of a king mare, you've got no business being in horses at all. So he bought him.
He worked for Dr. James Brown, who was kind of a renowned veterinarian area, and he did work for Les Goslin. They had Go Man Go and some other nice racehorses. Okie Leo was one of 4 2-year-olds he sent to the track. My husband was over there quite a bit, and they liked him, so they let him buy Okie Leo. We were quite privileged to be able to buy the horse, and we didn't have any money, but he let us pay him out, and he earned his way, all of his life. He was a great horse. We really enjoyed him. We didn't have any children, so he kind of became our child.
Okie Leo found his calling in the show ring, where he became an AQHA champion when that was the highest honor attainable with the American Quarter Horse Association. He earned 20 points at Halter and 88.5 points in reining, cutting, and Western Pleasure, and with Don Wilcox riding, picked up his superior in reining by winning 50 of the 55 reining classes entered. Okie Leo stood grand champion 4 times and took blue ribbons in 9 Get of Sire classes, all while also netting a National Cutting Horse Association Certificate of Ability.
He reined him for a long time, and Don Wilcox, I don't know, was helped him quite a bit with the reining, and he wanted to ride him. He wouldn't let Don take him home, but he'd let him ride him at the shows, and he won 25 straight with him. And then there got to be no competition. And when he was there, nobody had dinner. So Dick said, well, we got to do something else with him. So I had never done Western Pleasure, but he said, well, why don't you try to do Western Pleasure with him? Well, that was fun, walk, trot, lope, work. And I got to dress up, so I liked that.
Okie Leo was also shown in a 4-H and FFA show in 1960 in Dallas, where the 4-year-old stallion was ridden by John Mixer, the 10-year-old son of well-known American Quarter Horse artist and Hall of Famer Orrin Mixer.
Dick entered me in the Western Pleasure, and I'd never shown a horse, but he entered me on all these classes, and reining was the one I only knew, and I did a good job in all of them, but I didn't place.
But I went in there for the rain, and I think there was 80-some horses in it, and packed in an alleyway. And they finally called my number. Dick told me to go get it. And that was back before they had all the long slides and sliding plates and everything. This was when they did a roll back and come back. I did my small figure 8, then my large figure 8, and he told me to open him up when you go into your rollback. And I went down and I opened him up and I sat him down. He come back so hard and set me clean out of the saddle, and I just grabbed my stirrup and threw my leg back and opened him up for the other end. We did our rollback and come back. I backed him up, and the judge said, "Thank you." I rode off, and they announced a score of 78, and I felt so bad I messed up. And Dick said, "Don't worry about it. It's out of a possible 80. So I felt so much better. But we went back in there, and pretty soon they announced the winner, my number, and Dick had slapped that horse on the butt. I didn't.
There was never a dull moment with Okie around. He had a personality and loved to play.
His pen where we kept him was right there by the house, and had an old ladder, an old wooden ladder that was about 6 foot long, and his pen was just 2 smooth wires. But he'd get that ladder and he'd put it up on, pick it up and put it on his chest, and then he'd reach out and pick it up, and he'd walk around, with that thing, and he had that until it finally wore out. And then he had a tetherball up in the tree. And he'd back up in his stall, and he'd run up at that tetherball. Anyway, he entertained himself pretty well.
The Robies had a lot of great horses. And when Helen was asked what made Okie Leo so special, she fondly reminisced about his willingness, the way he moved, and how he would do anything you asked him to do.
The colts by him, they were, I don't care what kind of mare they were out of, they seemed to have basically the same mindset. The disposition and the move, and we raised a lot of colts. I think there were pictures of kids on him. Dick used to sell, it was his big deal to sell colts. He'd always put the kids or the women, which made me mad, But he put the women on him, and he got along fine, they all got along fine with him. But we sold quite a few horses that way, too.
Okie Leo went on to sire long strings of successful roping, reining, barrel racing, and working cow horses, and even a couple that won on the track. Okie Leo died in July 1978, but remained a leading sire of AQHA performance winners until 1985. Okie Leo made a lasting impact in the lives of American Quarter Horse Hall of Fame members such as Bob Loomis and M.O. Bud Breeding, and in many others' lives. His legacy will continue to live on as part of AQHA's history. Please welcome Okie Leo into the American Quarter Horse Hall of Fame.
Please welcome to the stage Helen Roby to accept on behalf of Okie Leo.
Forgot what I was going to say. So
You just make it up as you go.
okay. I'd like to thank the Quarter Horse Association for accepting Okie Leo, and There's so many people I need to thank. Sharon and Bud Breeding did the initial research on Okie and his colts, and John and Catherine Mixer and Larry Thornton picked it up and did the nominations, and we all love our horses, and once in a while you'll find something a little special, and Okie was one of those. I'd like to recognize Thad Cox and his family. Their dad, Dick Cox, was a friend and a great trainer. He taught Okie Leo and Dick, my husband, to do the cutting, and he trained and showed a lot of great horses, but I think he made 2 AQHA champions by Okie, and trained several other great cutting horses. So thank you. And I'm sure there's other people I need to thank, but thank you all for being here and for recognizing Okie. Thank you.
Congratulations again to be inducted into the 2023 Hall of Fame, Okie Leo. That concludes the horse inductions for this evening. We now honor the late Clark Bradley.
Like father, like son. AQHA professional horseman Clark Bradley joins his father, Bailey Stretch Bradley, in the American Quarter Horse Hall of Fame. No one conditioned, developed, trained, and showed horses any better than the Bradleys. A humble man who consistently gave of himself to anyone around him, Clark thrived on helping people succeed while taking no credit for the impact he made on the industry. Born July 30th, 1945 to Betty Jane and Stretch Bradley, Clark Ricard Bradley grew up with one brother and 3 sisters on the family farm in Hilliard, Ohio, where they raised dairy cattle and hogs. They also raised American quarter horses that the kids could saddle up and ride down the road to Grandpa and Grandma's house. Clark had the choice of milking cows or riding horses, and it's obvious which of the two won out. Clark went on to serve in the United States Marine Corps and graduated from the Ranch Management program at Texas Christian University. When he returned home, he joined his dad in training horses. For more than 50 years, he was successful in everything from Western Pleasure and Halter to winning the 1968 and 1974 National Reining Horse Association Open Futurities.
He started off working hard on the farm, and I think that's what gave him the work ethic to be successful in the horse business, because it takes a lot of work in horses. So then he started riding horses at a young age, and I think that's all he ever wanted to do. And I think he was very happy that he could make a living on horses. His first things he really liked to do was cutting horses and roping. So he roped when he was a teenager, and he told me a story about county fair. They had a rodeo, and they would always match like a professional roper against a local teenager. So Clark, when he was a teenager, got to match one of these professional ropers. He said he had him down to the last calf, but then he lost it.
Clark impacted the horse industry in a big way. Not only did he help set standards in the disciplines that he trained and showed in, but he also influenced, inspired, and encouraged his peers.
Clark's knowledge of all the events and how he could get a horse broke really helped him set himself apart from other trainers. And on top of that, he could really teach to his students at the college, University of Findlay, and also the trainers that worked for him. And I think he really passed that down to them.
Clark had a hand in crafting and developing reining and the National Reining Horse Association, and was instrumental in the success of the All-American Quarter Horse Congress and Ohio Quarter Horse Association. Clark was an AQHA Director Emeritus and sits in the OQHA and NRHA Halls of Fame, having served as president of both associations. Clark impacted the lives of horsemen, trainers, and riders throughout the industry. He was an advocate of youth and coached national championship teams at the University of Findlay, where he was an instructor for 26 years.
I think what Clark's most known for in the industry is being very diverse. He could train pleasure horses, reiners, cutters, ropers. He did everything except the English, but he could train those horses too. And he showed all in everything. And then on top of that, he was a great teacher. Taught at the University of Findlay for a long time. He hauled a lot of youth and amateurs. I think he's the only one to ever win the pleasure futurity and the reining futurity at the Congress. He also won the very first cutting they ever had at the Congress. And I think that's what separated him from a lot of other people.
Holding judging cards with AQHA, NRHA, and the National Snafflebit Association, Clark judged both the AQHA and AQHYA World Championship shows and other competitions in the United States, Canada, Australia, Britain, Belgium, Brazil, Germany, and Switzerland. In 2001, Clark was named the Don Burt AQHA Professional Horseman of the Year.
He was very detailed in everything he did. From how you take care of the horse, how you feed the horse. He was so knowledgeable in all the different disciplines. He could help students on whatever they wanted to do or whatever the horse was good at, and he could teach that. He also led by example. He's very hardworking, very honest, he had a lot of patience with horses and kids, which I think helped.
The family tradition carries on with Clark's son, AQHA professional horseman C.R. Bradley, who in 1993, 1994, and 1995 served notice of what was to come by bringing home state championships in Indiana High School Rodeo Association competition. He has scored multiple youth and open titles at the Congress, is a two-time AQHA Super Horse rider at the AQHA World Show, and roped at the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo. CR lives with his wife, Rosie, and son, Cooper, in Collinsville, Texas, where he trains roping horses.
I was on a horse when I was very early age. They said the only way they'd get me to take a nap when I was young was set me on a horse and ride around, and I'd fall asleep. And then he was always riding, and I loved riding and roping, and so we spent a lot of time together on horses. Horses, big connection.
Clark passed away January 18th, 2022. 3 years earlier, in support of his Hall of Fame nomination, American Quarter Horse Hall of Famer Carol Harris of Bobet Farm in Reddick, Florida, described Clark as, quote, a true American cowboy with an amazing talent he has shared with our members, young and old. We honor the respected, dedicated, and passionate Clark Bradley by welcoming him into the American Quarter Horse Hall of Fame.
Please join me in welcoming C.R. Bradley to accept on behalf of his dad, Clark Bradley.
On behalf of Clark and the Bradley family, I'd like to thank AQHA, the Hall of Fame, and the Foundation for this great honor. We really wish Clark was here to receive it. I know one thing he would say, that he's very honored to be next to Stretch in the Hall of Fame. Clark was a true horseman, and he got to live the life that he loved, which was horses and the people that come with the horses. And that's the greatest part about the horse business, is all the great people. He loved riding, loved teaching, and he lived his best life. We'd really like to thank his friends for coming and sharing this night with us. We'd like to thank the University of Findlay for coming and NRHA for coming, and all the other friends here with us. Thank you.
An amazing family legacy. CR, your granddad, and now your dad are forever enshrined together inside the American Quarter Horse Hall of Fame. That is amazing and well-deserved. Now we honor G.R. Carter, Jr.
G.R. Carter Jr. didn't raise the bar. G.R. Carter Jr. set the bar. G.R. has been riding horses his entire life. In fact, his parents had a picture of him on a pony on their porch at just 2 years old. Since then, he has spent his life dedicated to the thrill of high-speed races and working with some of the best American quarter horses in the industry. G.R. grew up in the ranch and rodeo community. He excelled as an athlete and won state championships in gymnastics and wrestling. But what really mattered was horses and roping, loves instilled in him by his late father, mentor, and favorite roping partner, George Robert Carter Sr. Jockeying wasn't on his radar until he was 14 years old when he met Gene Hearn, who trained AQHA racing champion Pacific Dan. Gene told GR he would be a perfect jockey due to his experience with horses, in addition to his grit and determination as a result of his background in wrestling and gymnastics. Soon after, he quit gymnastics and figured that it was time to start galloping racehorses to make money for roping and rodeo.
I grew up in Pawhuska, Oklahoma. I'm native Osage Indian. Pawhuska is the capital of the Osage Nation. The Osage County Fairgrounds, they have the rodeo arena, and I grew up right across the road. Around the rodeo arena at the fairgrounds is a racetrack. And a lot of the trainers, whenever I was growing up, still trained there. After I started galloping racehorses for some of those guys, that's how my career got started. Then after school started, I would gallop in the mornings before school. People hauling horses in. I might even meet someone out there at lunch break. I could take at least one horse during lunch break, and then I might go back and gallop some after school. That's what I wanted to do, and I wanted to get on horses, and I had to make myself available to those guys whenever they wanted me. Between my sophomore and junior and senior years, I galloped horses for a trainer named Bill Lau at Hughes Birch Creek Ranch. Was a training center farm that I started helping, and Bill is really the first guy that took me to the races and taught me a lot of things that I was going to need to know about the real races. Bill got killed in a car wreck when I was a senior. He's the one guy that I wish I would have known how it turned out.
When asked if he remembered his first official race, GR smiled and fondly reminisced about his first official mount and first official win on Memorial Day weekend in 1984 with Bees Jester. GR was just 16 years old, and he only had recently obtained his jockey's license.
Bees Jester was, she was a really special horse because she was my first winner. She was just a really good family mare. I mean, there was faster horses out there, but she meant the world to my family. Everything that I know about horses, I pretty much got that start and that basis from my dad. Dad was all in with whatever I wanted to do. I really wish that he would have been able to live and savor this moment of this happening.
GR, the all-time leading everything jockey, is American Quarter Horse Racing's record-leading rider with 25,700 mounts, 4,013 wins, and highest money earned having booted home the earners of more than $75.9 million. In 2008, GR set a single-season earnings record of more than $5 million, breaking the previous record of $4.5 million that he set 2 years earlier. He was AQHA champion jockey 10 times, twice as many as any other rider, including 6 years consecutively from 2003 to 2008. Retired jockey and longtime racing steward Jeff Williams remarked, "With all of GR's achievements, his induction into the Hall of Fame should be but a formality. But there's another aspect to consider. I personally witnessed his entire riding career from the time he came on the scene at Blue Ribbon Downs until he retired. I was in the jocks room with him, and he was very involved at every track he rode. I can honestly say he has set the bar for every quarter horse rider, not only by his accomplishments, but also by his character, integrity, work ethic, and professionalism. His dedication to doing his best and being the best made everyone around him better, the same as it did for the entire sport of quarter horse racing." Known for his signature backflip dismount, the highly sought-after rider racked up 386 wins in stakes, with 100 at the Grade 1 level, including 20 restricted Grade 1s, including twice in the sport's marquee event, the All-American Futurity.
Falling in love again wins the All-American Futurity. GR Carter finally wins the All-American Futurity. Are you surprised?
No, I'm not surprised. I'm just overjoyed. All those years of put in hard work at Blue Ribbon Downs, California, back and forth across the United States. They've all been trying to get right where I'm at right here today, and I'm just overjoyed.
Stoley's winner, Jeff back, Patriot, Stoley's winner wins the All-American.
GR rode winners of the rich All-American and Los Alamitos Super Derbies, scored 5 wins in the Heritage Place Futurity, 3 in the Los Alamitos 2 Million Futurity, and 1 in the Texas Classic Futurity. Along the way, he also picked up the most wins in American paint horse and Appaloosa racing, scored 335 victories aboard thoroughbreds, and nearly 5,000 wins among breeds overall. Today, GR lives in Oklahoma City with wife Shayna, whose father, Jerry Burgess, rode champion Bugs Alive in '75 to win the '75 All-American Futurity. GR hung up his flat tack in 2018, but whether heading or heeling at a local jackpot or roping steers at Pendleton and Cheyenne, he never hung up his rope. In 2007, he was half the team that won the Pro-Am at the 2007 World Series of Team Roping, and he and his dad won the 2005 Southwest Regional Finals in Albuquerque, New Mexico. GR is still very active in the American quarter horse racing industry. He is an AQHA director and professional horseman. GR is also the chairman of the AQHA Racing Committee, a member of the AQHA Racing Council, and president of the Oklahoma Quarter Horse Racing Association. A recipient of the Sam Thompson Memorial Award and member of Team Wrangler since its inception, GR has traveled to Mexico where he tutored jockeys and served as an AQHA ambassador promoting American quarter horses. He is a former vice president of the Jockeys Guild, a board member of the Permanently Disabled Jockeys Fund, an American Quarter Horse ambassador for the Jockeys and Jeans charity, and has been inducted into the Remington Park, Lone Star Park, Ruidoso Downs, Oklahoma Horse Racing, and Oklahoma Quarter Horse Racing Halls of Fame. It has truly been a lifelong passion for GR.
It's no major secret about horse racing, and what I like to tell people. You know, I tell someone, I figured out the secret to success a long time ago when someone will ask me, and they'll be all ears, and I'll tell them, if you know you're riding the fastest horse in the race, it really helps your chances of winning. It's still not a guarantee. You can still screw it up, but overall, if you're on the fastest horse, you have the best chance of winning. But the way to be able to get on the fastest horse is no different than anything. Hard work, dedication, being relentless. You know, I rode for 35 years. Looking back on it, it's almost surprising even to me to think that I rode my first race when I was 16 and my last one right before I turned 51. And for 35 years, I was all in. That's what I did. That was my identity. I treated it as a profession, dedicated myself, and got rewarded for it.
Thank you for your contribution to the American quarter horse racing industry. Please welcome GR Carter Jr. into the American Quarter Horse Hall of Fame.
There he is right there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome GR Carter Jr. to the stage. GR will be receiving this prestigious Hall of Fame member pin, which is presented to each living human inductee. I got to tell GR a big thank you, because I went with some friends to Ruidoso. He was riding over there, and they said, we're not going to bet on the quarter horses. That's too hard. It's such a short race. I said, I think I'll give it a shot, and I just picked JR's horses all day long. They were like, what in the world? So I just got a sixth sense about this deal.
First off, I would like to thank several people and say that I'm very humbled by the amount of people that are here tonight because of my induction into the Hall of Fame. It truly means a lot to me. I have my mother, which, that's where you start, with your mother. And I have my wife, Shana, that's been there with me for 33 years. She almost my whole career. I have my in-laws, owners. I see 4 or 5 fellow jockeys. 2 of the all-time leading trainers that I rode for years, Jack Brooks and Mike Joyner, are both here. And a lot of the greatest horse owners that I ever rode for. Have some of my partners in business and partners in crime. I'd like to thank the foundation, the Hall of Fame, for this induction, and I would really like to thank my great friend Jeff Williams for having the thought that I was worthy of such an honor to actually induct me. And thank you, Jeff. I'll remember it forever. I was truly the luckiest guy in the world. I got to ride the fastest horses that ever run down the racetrack and got paid to do it. They had a radar gun one year at Ruidoso. It's been 10 or 12 years ago. And they were all excited. They come in the room and showing me that they were catching horses 50 to 55 mile an hour. Then they come in the room and showed us jocks they caught a horse at 57 miles an hour. I cannot tell you the rush that you get from standing flat-footed in the gate to leaving in front and just running away from the field, the rush and the feeling that you get. I wish everybody in this room could actually experience that, because you just don't understand it with someone like me telling you about it till you actually feel it. And I was lucky enough to get to experience that on a day-to-day basis. It didn't matter if I was winning a cheap claiming race or the All-American. I still got that feeling of excitement, fulfillment at every mount. So I truly feel fortunate and blessed that I was able to lead that path of quarter horse racing for all those years. I'm going to finish up with one little quick story. In 1990, I had conquered Blue Ribbon Downs, the first track that I rode at Sallisaw. Anybody ask me if I ever went to college, I tell them, you damn right, I went straight to Blue Ribbon Downs. The place is special to my heart. Well, for the next 4.5 years or so, that's all I did was ride at Blue Ribbon Downs. My first goal was to be leading rider at Blue Ribbon Downs. I'd won the Heritage Futurity there a couple years. I'd been the leading rider for a couple years. And I was at a point in my career where I had to make a decision. I rode everything they let up there. It didn't matter if it was quarter horse, paint, app, thoroughbred. I rode them all. Maybe even a mule or Arabian. Well, I was at a point in my career, and I had success with the thoroughbreds and quarter horses both. Probably more so with the quarter horses, but I won quite a few thoroughbred races too. And I got to a point to where I knew I needed to go somewhere to better my career, to better myself, to try to set out from Blue Ribbon and try to win, races like maybe the Kentucky Derby or maybe the All-American. And I had to make a choice. And I thought long and hard, and I was already having to watch my weight to tack about 120 pounds, and really to go to like Kentucky or New York or California or Florida, I would really need to ride thoroughbreds. I'd really need tack about 116. So that's mean I was going to have to be 3 or 4 pounds lighter than I already was, that I was watching my weight. So that was one of the deciding factors, but not the only deciding factor in why I chose to go the quarter horse path. I went to Los Alamitos, got to ride with some of the greatest riders that there was at the time, made it to Ruidosa, and the rest is history. And I cannot be more grateful that I chose that quarter horse path.
So I wonder how much money we would have to raise to get GR to do a backflip off the stage tonight.
Don't think I still couldn't do it at 55. I can do it in my mind all day, every day, but I cannot get ready for that landing.
Congratulations, GR. Next, we induct the late Leverne Perry.
Fast horses were Leverne Perry's passion, and he dedicated a lifetime of service to ensuring their success. Born January 4th, 1932 in Seeper, Louisiana, Edward Leverne Perry grew up in the footsteps of his father, Jesse, a cowboy who taught his son the ideals and skills that shaped his life. As a teenager, Leverne began roping and rodeoing and always had an eye for fast horses. Leverne dismounted long enough to serve with the U.S. Army in Japan. Returning home to rodeo, he saddled a fast horse, picked up his twine, and roped calves across the South and at Madison Square Garden. In 1960 and 1965, Leverne earned the title of Louisiana State Champion all-around cowboy.
With quarter horse racing, I guess it was just an evolution from the rodeo. He rode horses before he could walk and loved quarter horses. He began rodeoing before he was a teenager and was quite good at it, and so good that he ended up being injured, hurt his knees, and I think the injury led him, into the horse racing industry. I think he wanted to find something that he could do that he had to be around the horse.
Laverne's love for speed led him to his most lasting impact on the development of the fastest horses on earth. As a breeder, he registered his American quarter horse in 1967 and continued breeding mares for nearly 5 decades. He raised Louisiana champions and AQHA regional champions, and when his father wanted a race-bred mare, Leverne found the Sin Fin mare Scoopy Fin for $1,000 for him and bred her to Streakin' La Jolla. Leverne named the resulting sorrel colt in honor of his father, the greatest man he ever knew. Mr. Jess Perry, the 1994 AQHA champion 2-year-old, grew into one of the breed's top all-time leading sires of runners, sires, and broodmares. Through April 2023, Mr. Jess Perry had sired more than 160 stakes winners and the earners of more than $60 million, including world champion Apolitical Jess and 8 other champions. Mr. Jess Perry was inducted into the American Quarter Horse Hall of Fame in 2019.
Mr. Jess Perry's performance it's what dreams are made of for him. You breed horses, and that's what you dream about. Those are once-in-a-lifetime horses. You couldn't hardly talk about Mr. Jess Perry without Dad's eyes welling up with tears.
Leverne also leaves a legacy off the track. He co-founded the Louisiana Quarter Horse Breeders Association Youth Scholarships. He also hosted the Saturday morning television show Leverne Perry and the Little Wranglers, which ran 9 years in the 1960s, and he served as auctioneer at numerous fundraising events for youth. He also helped establish the first therapeutic riding program in central Louisiana and worked with special needs children at St. Mary's School in Alexandria.
One of his loves was working with children and helping children. He and Jim Mitchell, one of our other board members, developed the Youth Scholarship Fund for the Louisiana Quarter Horse Breeders Association. And he would travel to the schools and award the scholarships, make a speech, hand them to the kids. He loved it. He did fundraiser. He started our stallion auction to raise money. He would take the plants that were used for decoration at the end of the sale. He'd hold them up and auction them off, going, this is going to the scholarship fund. He used to say, he said, before I leave this world, I want to get that fund to $1 million. As of today, they've given over $800,000 in scholarships.
An all-around horseman who made his name in rodeo and racing, Leverne became executive director of the Louisiana Quarter Horse Breeders Association in 1987 until he retired in 2013. He presided over the association's inauguration of the Mardi Gras Futurity in 1988 and the first $1 million purse for the Breeders' Futurity in 2012, both for accredited Louisiana-bred foals. He was a fierce activist for American quarter horse interests. He was especially effective in political efforts to allow the expansion of gaming in Louisiana, which led to increased purses and breeder incentive funds.
He was very instrumental in working with the legislature when they brought slots to the racetracks. Very instrumental in that process and getting a huge share of the funds dedicated to quarter horse racing and to the quarter horse breeding program in Louisiana, which has developed into one of the strongest state programs in the nation.
Tony Patterson, who followed Leverne as the association's executive director, says Leverne made the LQHBA what it is today, adding that he came to the table numerous times in the association's time of need during gaming hearings. He was extremely respected by horsemen, the Racing Commission, all 4 Louisiana racetracks, and the Louisiana government agencies. Leverne was later president of the Amicus Club Rodeo Association and inducted into Louisiana Rodeo Hall of Fame in 2002. Leverne served on the AQHA Racing Committee and the Graded Stakes and other subcommittees. He spent a lot of time and effort boosting the industry anywhere he could, for which he received the Gordon Crone Special Achievement Award in 2011. He received the LQHBA Lifetime Achievement Award in 2014 and entered the association's Hall of Fame in 2016. Leverne remained Executive Director Emeritus of LQHBA following his retirement until he passed away at age 84 on March 27, 2016. Even though Leverne loved American quarter horses, nothing brought him more pleasure and pride than being the father of daughters Karen Rush, Julie Normand, Jill Gutierrez, Lee Perry, and Amy Grimes, and grandfather and great-grandfather to their children. His children and family show him that same admiration.
He never met a stranger. You know, if you were sitting in the corner, he would come up to you and he would bring you in, scoop you up, and make you feel a part of everybody. He was the kind of person that if there was a fence there, the fence could be moved. And that was one of the biggest lessons he taught me in life, was that you can start things, you can invent things, you can, move the fence.
I have one or two things I always say to the young people. This is America. I watched some of the jet streams a minute ago. You can go anywhere in this world and be anything you want to be, but never forget where you came from.
Laverne's children believe he is up in heaven and would be so proud to achieve the highest recognition in the industry, being inducted into the American Quarter Horse Hall of Fame. Leverne was a family man who dedicated a lifetime of service to ensuring the success of the American Quarter Horse Association. We honor the late Leverne Perry by inducting him into the American Quarter Horse Hall of Fame.
Please welcome Laverne's daughter, Lee Perry, accepting on behalf of the Perry family. One of the great things about the Hall of Fame and the ability to tell their stories, I knew Leverne a long time, and I learned a lot about the man tonight. I learned a lot about him.
Wow, thank you. Thank you to the AQHA, the Hall of Fame, the museum, and the foundation. Y'all did a phenomenal job on that video. It's been a phenomenal weekend. And all I can say is Dad's here with us. I wasn't going to cry, but, you know, he was a crier. If you knew him, he'd get up here and probably shed a tear. So I've already said, put on your big girl boots and don't do it. But it's quite an honor to have his life's work in, whether it be through rodeo, racing, breeding. The American Quarter Horse was always a part of his life, and he loved it. And it just came easy to him to think forward, what can we do? He was a constant promoter. He loved people. He loved getting people involved with quarter horses in any way. And he would be so honored with this class that he's inducted with the Hall. I've seen many of his friends in the Hall of Fame, many of his friends here tonight, and thank y'all for celebrating with us. But you've seen so much of his life and what he's accomplished in this video and through the stories, and I thought I'd share something a little funny about Dad. Dad, that you might not see in the video or in the research. Dad loved music. He loved music. He loved to have a good time. He always, I think, somewhere down, he wanted to be a songwriter and a musician, somewhere in there. So one year, he loved Dwight Yoakam. We got him into a meet and greet before a concert with Dwight Yoakam. And Dad always taught us, you could do anything. Anything's possible. Well, I think in his songwriting fantasy, we got in there and he said, "Hey, Dwight, I think you need to change the words of that song." Like, what did he just tell this man? So, you know, he was fearless in his ventures. So if he had the nerve to tell Dwight Yoakam, you need to change the words of Guitarist Cadillac and hillbilly music to Guitarist Cadillac and long-legged women, then he was bold enough to try to change anything. And so we're proud of his work that he's done through the years with the American Quarter Horse Association, with the Louisiana Quarter Horse Breeders Association, and throughout the country with all of his friends that he's helped. And I wanted to thank Bruce Szilard, who's now the executive director of the Louisiana Quarter Horse Breeders Association, for coming tonight to celebrate him, and all of my sisters and nieces and nephews that are here to celebrate him. So thank y'all very much. He would be so honored by this. Thank you.
Mr. Perry, you're a great man, and we're honored to welcome you into the Hall of Fame. Our final inductee this evening, AQHA past president, Mr. Ralph Seekins.
When you combine a business-minded person with a friendly disposition, drive to make a difference, and a passion for the American Quarter Horse, you get the 68th president of the world's largest equine breed association, Ralph Seekins. Ralph's love for horses started at a young age.
I think about the time I was 8 or 9, I got a Christmas present and I got a bridle in there. And I couldn't figure, what in the world? I knew what it was, but where's the horse, you know? So I asked my mom, I said, well, I got the bridle, but don't have a horse. She said, well, we'll have to see what we can do about that. Ended up, not too long after that, my dad had two, one for me, one for my older brother, ranch horses that were retired, and they weren't beautiful, but I thought they were.
Over the years, Ralph's passion for horses grew, along with his successful career. He was a car salesman, a good part of his adult life, and owned a Ford dealership for 46 years. Ralph's outgoing personality and desire to make a difference also led him to serve as an Alaska state senator for 4 years, which kind of made him a celebrity in the 49th state. Ralph used that celebrity status to educate Alaskans about American quarter horses and help build the quarter horse industry in his state.
I was very fortunate. I took a part-time job 54 years ago when I got married. I went to work for a Ford dealer who at one time was an actor's agent. Jane Russell was one of his clients. John Wayne was his good buddy. You know, he would come to Seattle and visit with my boss. But here was a man who wanted to develop younger people. He was an actor's agent, but he was also, I was the 9th of his young people that actually got his own dealership. And he had a great value in that. He taught me that I wasn't in the car business, I was in the people business.
Ralph can also be described as a family man who passed his passion to his daughters. When his daughters were teenagers, Beth and Andrea asked for horses. Ralph and his wife Connie told the girls that first they had to prove that they could be responsible and take care of horses. After over a year of cleaning stalls, grooming, and feeding a friend's horses in return for getting to ride, Beth and Andrea were up for the challenge of owning, caring for, and showing their own horses. That was the start of what in 1993 became Seekins Family Quarter Horses at the Lazy S Ranch.
So as Connie and I got to where our girls were coming along, and I didn't know they had that passion, and I'm so busy working hard, you know, to make a living, I didn't think about having a horse, but my girls did. And so they started thinking about going and getting a horse, and I said, well, if we're going to have a horse, we're going to have a quarter horse, because I know what they are. I know they can do anything. They've got the right mind. Quarter horses and kids go together.
Breeding, raising, training, and showing horses was fun for the family, but they wanted to share that blessing with others. So in 1996, they started Helping Hooves, a therapeutic riding program in which their show horses serve as the mounts for children, adults, and soldiers suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder or with disabilities. The family also started Ride with Ralph, a regular Wednesday night event during which the family offers riding lessons free of charge to 4-H'ers and other American quarter horse owners. Over the years, Ralph learned more about the American Quarter Horse Association and how he could be more involved.
I ran into Larry and Nancy Powell. They were judges and horse breeders, and they were very successful at what they did, but he came up to judge. And Nancy and Larry would come judge quarter horse show, then do a 4-H show. I mean, they were just great with people and with kids. And I didn't know there was an organization at AQHA. But he said, you know, Ralph, have you ever gone to a convention? I said, no, I didn't know there was one. He says, why don't you come to the next one? I'll introduce you to some people. After Larry brought me to a convention, introduced me to a few people, and I started seeing the value to the association and what it was doing. I always worked kind of behind the scene. They wanted to put together a public policy committee, and I started working with that. Eventually became chairman of that. I started seeing, you know, getting involved in what was making AQHA work and seeing the value of that. There is tremendous value there.
Ralph's main priority was to listen to members and learn what he could do to be more helpful and make AQHA better for them and their American quarter horses.
And I was fortunate that there were people there that were very helpful to me and helped me understand what I didn't understand yet, and some great staff people that would help that. And so it was fun because it was always challenging. How can we do this better? How could we do that better? And how are we performing in this area and whatnot? So it kind of meshed into what I do on a smaller basis in my little car business.
Some of Ralph's member-focused objectives as AQHA president included ensuring the availability of organized competition for exhibitors of all financial needs and skill levels, upholding the high standards and consistency in creating and enforcing AQHA rules and regulations, implementing a level playing field for all exhibitors in AQHA competition, and increasing opportunities for recognition and awards for those investing their time and money in AQHA competition. Highlights for Ralph's presidential year included AQHA Ranching Heritage Bred horses competing for nearly $115,000 in the inaugural AQHA Ranching Heritage Challenge Finals, the addition of 7 13 and under World Championship core classes to the 2018 AQHYA World Championship Show, and the American Quarter Horse Foundation awarding more than $365,000 to AQHYA members through scholarships.
One of the things I I'd love to see is more people knowing that they can be involved, that there is this group of people, you know, and the horses are used in many, many different ways, and that there's probably somewhere for them in that process. It might start out small with just a bridle and a horse with no saddle. Might start out small, but it's there.
Since serving as AQHA president, Ralph continues to advocate for the association's members and horses, and he always shares his love of the American Quarter Horse with everyone he meets. Please welcome AQHA past president Ralph Seekins into the American Quarter Horse Hall of Fame.
Please welcome to the stage Mr. Ralph Seekins.
Yep. Oh, thank you for letting us be here with you tonight. Makes a world of difference for us. I want you to meet my wife, Connie, over there holding the plaque. Been married to her the 6th of September. We've been married 54 years. On this end is Andrea, my daughter, who talked me into getting into a quarter horses business. And in the middle are 4 of my granddaughters, all equestrians. There's not a shrinking violet or a prima donna in the group. They're out there at 30 below, cleaning, making sure the horses are fed. They take the whole meal deal, and I'm so proud of them. You know, my mother said one time, she said, Ralphie, she called me that from the day I was born till the day she died. She said, if you have something of value and you don't share it, it has no value. And one of the things that these girls do and my wife has done is shared their quarter horses with therapeutic riding and 4-H, outreach to people that had PTSD soldiers. We have Army and Air Force there in Fairbanks. And they've learned the value of their horse and how to share that value with other people. And I really, these are what make me get more involved in quarter horses right here. And I'm very proud of them, as you can tell. You know, I thanked Larry and Nancy for letting me know there was an association. I didn't know. Since then, I've met many of you. First time I came to a convention, I sat with Ken Mooney. I didn't know anything. I didn't know he was a big shot. But he welcomed me right in, you know, and let me feel the warmth of the association and the people involved in it. And that really attracted me. And since then, I've met so many of you that have taught me so much. Guys like Doc and Johnny, you know, Sandy. I can just go on and name so many of you that meant so much to me and helped me come along to be a better quarter horse person. And it's such a great value. And I thank all of you. You know who you are and what you've done to help me. The ones that came up to judge and again taught us up there so much about what the American quarter horse is. And even in the 50th state in the nation, which is 2.5 times the size of the state of Texas, we have about 3,000 horses in our valley. And the quarter horses continue to shine, get more and more kids and more parents involved. A police sergeant one time told me, he said, Ralph, there's 2 things teenagers should never have. I said, what is it? He said, number 1, spare time. Number 2, spare money. Horses take care of both those problems. My daughter Beth couldn't be with us. She's home taking care of some of the others. She's a professional horseman, great teacher. Andrea is a teacher who says, you know, let's think about this. There must be a better way we could accomplish what you're trying to do. And Beth is, I told you how to do it, now do it that way. And between the two of them, they get the job done. But I just want to tell you, it isn't me, Ralph Seekins, that makes this association what it is. It's you that are sitting out there tonight. And I'm so honored to be associated with the same other people that are already there and the people that came in tonight. And I just want to thank all of you and tell you how much my family also thanks you for all that you've done with the horses. And with that, I'll let you get on, my friend.
I can promise you there's only one thing more that this man loves more than sharing his passion with American Quarter Horse, and it is his family. Congratulations to you, sir, for being in the Hall of Fame. One more time, let's give a big round to all of your 2023 Hall of Fame inductees. Thanks again to all of the supporters and underwriters that helped make this event possible. We could not do it without you. The photos and videos from tonight's honorees will be available on AQHA's YouTube channel and on the Foundation's celebration page. We hope you'll help us share those videos and stories with your friends and family. It's time to call it a night, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. Safe travels home. God bless. We'll see you next year.